computer. I can set myself as the main screen. Hold on, pin my video. So when it records or when it goes on Facebook, people can only see me. Okay, so today is the Hebrew date of the 23rd of the Hebrew month of Sivan. I should start by saying I have been asked to say Tehillim for Roz Furman, who Baruch Hashem is a lot better. And apparently they attempted to get her out of bed in the ICU this morning, and she's talking a little bit. So I have been asked to say Tehillim for Roz, and there's a couple of other people's parents that are ill in our shul. So we'll say Tehillim for them. However, I want to build up to say that Tehillim. You'll see when I give my shir why I think when I build up the Tehillim might have a little bit more significance, and therefore perhaps we'll say Tehillim in the middle. Let me mute everybody. Oh, hello Arthur, how are you?
Baruch Hashem, thank you. Just fine. Glad I made it.
Did you have a problem logging in tonight?
I always have a problem logging in because it's me, not because it's the machine.
Because some people said they logged in and it said there's another meeting, they had to log out and somehow log in again. I'm not sure if that happened to you.
No, mine said it wanted me to reinstall Zoom. I don't know what the problem is.
Oh, right. Okay, right. I'm going to mute everybody. And we will, oh, I see Jean is joining. Which Jean is that? Is that Jean Lazar, perhaps? I don't know. Okay, well, for those who come on now, we'll have to talk to them at the end. Okay, so let me mute everybody. Oh, yes, Jean and David. How are you, David?
Fine, and yourself?
You're in Chicago now?
Yes,
We're now
sir.
in Skokie, just north of Chicago.
All right. Okay. All right. So let me mute everybody, and then we'll start the shir. Hold on. Mute everybody. Right. So as I said, I've been asked to say Tehillim, but hopefully we'll say Tehillim. Hold on. Right. So as I said, I've been asked to say Tehillim. Hold on. So that is going right. Okay. So I want to build up to it, and then we'll say Tehillim in the middle. You'll see why I want to build up to it in a minute. So today is the 23rd day of the Hebrew month of Sivan, which is what I'm going to call a dichotomous day. The way I understand dichotomous means there's two opposite things, right? There are two opposites. So today is a dichotomous day in the sense that on the one hand, it's a very sad day, and on the other hand, it's an exceedingly happy day. So what do I mean? So let me first tell you the headlines, and then we'll go into explain it. If you look in the Shulchan Aruch, which we're going to do when I share my screen, and we'll look at it, says that today is a very sad day. It's a fast day, because this is the day that King Jeroboam, stopped the Bikkurim, the first fruits, from being taken up to Yerushalayim. So that's obviously a very sad day. We'll discuss that. And it's a fast day. And then, if you look, it says in the Megillah Esther that they sent out after Haman was killed, which was on second day Pesach. Haman was killed, the story with Esther. And then on the 23rd of Sivan, it says quite clearly on the 23rd of the third month, that's when King Achashverosh allowed the Jews to send out new decrees, the new letters, and it says the Pasuk like Yehudim, and it was a great happy day. So therefore, it's a wonderful happy day for everybody in Klal Yisrael, in the Jewish people, and therefore, it's a very happy day. So it's a dichotomous day. So let's first look into why it's a sad day. We'll do the sad bit first. So let me share my screen. Let's get this right. Share screen. Let me find what I did with it. Hold on. Oh, give me a second. Let me find it. Let's go to the right one, because I've got a few things up. Shulchan Aruch. Okay. There we go. Now back to Zoom and share my screen. And hopefully this should work. Right. Hopefully now you are seeing on your screen a copy of the Shulchan Aruch Orach Chaim, chapter 580. We'll read it in English. Right. On the first, so this is, if I go up, if I scroll up, Yomin Shemis Anim Behem. These are the days that we fast. Now we don't fast on most of these anymore. because it's too difficult for us to fast. But in the olden days, they fasted because these are the days that sad things happened to our fathers. So what are the days? Let's scroll down in English. On the 1st of Nisan, the sons of Aaron died when they went into the Beis Hamikdash and they offered the incense, whatever they did, and the fire came down and consumed them. On the 10th of Nisan, Miriam died, so she was the holy woman. So that was and her well of water disappeared, so that was a very sad day. On the 26th of Nisan, Joshua ben Nun, who took over for Moshe, he died. On the 20th of Iyar, Eli the priest and his 2 sons died, and the Ark of God was captured. Right, that's another story. We're not going into that now. On the 26th, Samuel the prophet died. Here we go. On the 23rd, if I highlight it, so we see exactly where I am. Oh, it's gone. Hold on. Oh, I thought I could highlight it. Can I highlight it? There we go. On the 23rd day of Sivan, which is today now, the offering of the first fruits in Jerusalem was cancelled during the days of Jeroboam ben Nevat. So this is a fast day because Jeroboam stopped the first fruits from coming to Jerusalem. Just while we're on the month of Sivan, on the 25th, which is in 2 days' time, Tuesday night, Wednesday, Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel and Rabbi Ishmael and Rabbi Hananiah, the deputy high priest, were killed. These were 3 of the 10 martyrs. We know the story of the 10 martyrs. We read about it on Tisha B'Av and Yom Kippur. 3 of them were killed. They weren't all killed on the same day. And then on the 27th, I highlight this, Rabbi Hananiah ben Terajim was burned to death and the Torah scroll with him. So those are 4 out of the 10 martyrs were killed over the next few days. So that's why it's a very, very sad day. Now I'm hoping I can just switch my tabs and you'll still see what's being shared here. So hopefully now you can see on your screen Kings 12. You can see Kings 12, yeah, on your screen? Okay, so who was good. So who was King Jeroboam? Who was Jeroboam? Let's go through a bit of history. Some people asked me to talk about Novi, to talk about the stories of the prophets. So I can tell everybody, here we are, we're talking about the prophets. Although I see none of those people are on the call at the moment. But that's how these things go, unfortunately. All right, so we know we had King David, King David's son Solomon, King Shlomo. These were fantastic kings. But unfortunately, King Shlomo wasn't as good as David. He had 1,000 wives. They led him astray. And God punished him and said, I'm going to tear the kingdom away from you. And I'm going to give it to 10 of the 12 tribes will go to a man called Jeroboam ben Nevat. He sent his prophet, Achio Hashiloni, and he told Jeroboam, you're going to be the king of the 10 tribes. And Rehoboam, who was the son of Shlomo, he was the king of 2 tribes. So if you think about it, Shlomo built the temple. He ruled for 40 years. The temple stood for 410 years. There was only 40 years in history that the Beis Hamikdash stood with complete unity. After that, unfortunately, they split the 2 tribes and the 10 tribes. Now, Jeroboam has a problem. He gets, well, I suppose you would say, power corrupts people, right? And he gets full of himself, and he gets mighty, and he gets full of pride. And he realizes there is a problem. Because if all the Jews go up to the temple on Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkot, they'll all go back to the temple, they'll see King Rehoboam, and they'll forget about me. I've got to stop the Jews going back to the temple. Actually, the Talmud says that the only person who could sit in the temple was the king of Yehuda. Everyone else had to stand except the king of Yehuda. Not even Jeroboam could sit. So he was worried everyone would be standing, one person would be sitting Rehoboam, everybody would say, he's the king. Jeroboam will be next to him because the king will be at the front. They'll say, who's that man standing next to the king? He must be the servant. So let's read now in English. Jeroboam said to himself, now the kingdom may well return to the house of David. Let me scroll down. If these people will go up to offer sacrifices in the house of the Lord in Jerusalem, the hearts of these people will turn back to their master, the king Rehoboam of Judah. They will kill me and go back to King Rehoboam. Scroll down. So the king took counsel and made 2 golden calves. He said to the people, you have been going up to Jerusalem long enough. This is your God, O Israel, who brought you out from the land of Israel. And he set one idol in Bethel and placed another in Dan. This proved to be a cause of guilt, for the people went to worship the calf at Bethel and the one at Dan. He also made cult places and appointed priests from the ranks of the people who were not of Levite descent. And then it says here, Jeroboam established a festival on the 15th day of the 8th month, which is Cheshvan, instead of Sukkot. Jeroboam is one of the 4 kings, it says in the Gemara in Sanhedrin. It says that 4 kings will not be resurrected and have no place in the world to come. One of them is Jeroboam. He was wicked because he introduced idolatry into the land of Israel. He introduced idolatry, split the Jews from going to the temple. And on the 23rd day, it doesn't say it in Nach, but it's brought down in the Jewish, what do they do? It's brought down in the Jewish Seder Hadoros, in the Jewish history books, if you like, that on the 23rd of Sivan, he stopped people going to bring up their Bikkurim, because he stopped them going up for Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot. Then he made his own festival, didn't let them go for Pesach, and people thought, oh, let's go bring our Bikkurim, the first fruits. As we know, there is a mitzvah to take the first growths of the 7 fruits that Israel is praised for, which is wheat and barley, and grapes, chitos, ora, gefen, pomegranates, and figs, and dates, chitos, ora, gefen, berimon, eretz, zeh, shemen, ledvash, olives, and dates. So you take the first fruits, you see which ones grow first, you put a string around them, and then you take them to Yerushalayim after Shavuos. Shavuos is known as Chag Bikkurim. It's until you start the Bikkurim, and until Sukkot you make the declaration that we find in Parshas, what Parsha is it? Kisovo. Parshas Kisovo, there's a whole declaration, you wave it, and it's given to the Kohen. And that was the day he stopped people going, no more bringing the first fruits. And that was a terrible thing, so much so that we saw, if I can switch back, let's see if it switches back, I hope so. No, not switching back for me. No, that's Esther. Hold on, now the screen is coming in my way and I can't find what I was going to do. No, okay, so that's why it was made a fast day. So the question is, let's unshare the screen. Where do I go to unshare the screen? Stop share, and then you can see my face again. Many of you might say that's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know. So, why is the day he stopped them bringing up the Bikkurim such a sad day? Maybe we should have had a fast day on the 15th of Cheshvan, the day he made his festival. The day he made the festival, or the day he made the idols. What is so special, or should I say, what is so terrible about stopping the first fruits, the Bikkurim, from being brought up to Israel, that's when they made a fast day? For all the new people I see joining, don't get scared. We don't fast nowadays. You can relax. We don't need to worry about fasting. So the answer, I believe, and this is my own opinion, is like this. And I'm going to link it to this week's Parsha. And no, I did not put this in my share screen. This week's Parsha has the mitzvah. We know about the spies. The terrible spies went up and God punished them. We're going to stay 40 years in the desert. After that, and there's a whole reason what the connection between the spies and the mitzvah of challah is, but we won't go into that now. There is the mitzvah of taking challah. Not to be confused with the challah you eat on a Friday night. That is a different thing. When you bake anything with dough, you have to take a little piece of it and give it to the Kohen. Nowadays we don't do that because we don't have the Kohanim in their pure state. So we take a little piece the size of a golf ball. I used to teach for Kosher Miami. My job was to teach everybody about challah. So you take off from a dough mixture. If you make more than 3 pounds of challah, you take off a little golf ball size and you wrap it up. Some people burn it. Make sure you burn it with nothing else in the oven. It has to be burnt on its own, wrapped up. Or some people wrap it nicely and put it reverentially, I love that word, reverentially in the trash can, which means you just place it nicely as opposed to just throwing it out. That's what you should do with all bread. If you have bits of bread left over from Shabbos or whatever and you want to throw it out, it's going a bit stale, you're supposed to wrap it up and put it nicely in the trash can. So it's not like, oh, we're just getting rid of bread. And you show that you don't care about the bread. You're supposed to put it in nicely. And the question is, what is so special about challah? The Medrash says that the world was created in order for us to take challah. The mitzvah of challah was so special that the whole world was created for challah. Why, what, who, and where? So to be brief, the Maharal explains like this. Many people think that this world is all about spirituality. Oh, don't care about earthliness things. Don't worry about the simple things, eating, the pleasures of life. I'm not telling you to overindulge. People think it's all about the lofty things, but the basic things, I'm eating, so I'm eating. What spirituality is there in eating? What spirituality is there in walking to shul or any of these things? What's the whole point of it? There's nothing spiritual about that. Somebody's feeling sad and I'm talking to them to make them feel better. What's the spirituality in that? I'm just schmoozing. I'm just talking. What is the kedusha, the spirituality about that? And that's what challah comes to teach you. Bread, as we know, is the staple, or maybe not today. It's ironic because today they tell you not to eat bread, and bread is bad for you, and you should avoid bread at all costs, right? Isn't that what they say? Try and avoid, all the diets tell you to avoid eating bread. But anyway, bread is supposed to be the staple of every person, the staple diet. That's the stereotypical food. The pasuk says, "Ki lo alechem levado yichya ha'adam." God is saying, you got to remember me. You can't just live on bread alone. You got to listen to me. Because people think, oh, as long as I have my bread, my food, and I'm not starving, I'm fine, I can survive. So you know bread is what we believe is the essence of survival. The morale says what God is telling you is, take the first bit of that bread before you even eat it yourself and make it holy by doing a mitzvah. What is that mitzvah? You're giving it as tzedakah. You're giving it as charity to the Kohen, right? The Kohen got 24 gifts. They had all these special gifts. They're the ones who didn't work. They sat and they studied the Torah. They worked for us in the Beis HaMikdash, in the temple. You have to support them. It's charity. You give a mitzvah. And by giving them this small little piece, the size of a golf ball, okay? You can give more, of course, if you want. And at the time that it was actually eaten, they would try and encourage you to give more, a piece that you could actually bake and eat and enjoy, as opposed to something small. Now, since we throw it away, we give a small amount so we don't waste too much bread. But you give it to the Kohen, and then Hashem says, right, now that you've done a mitzvah, you have elevated this dough into something holy, something special, and now you can eat it. And that's why the world was created for challah, to show you that it's not about even the little mundane things, I should say, even the simple things. If you make them and elevate them into a holy purpose. I know Chabad are very big into saying about you take the sparks from everything and make it holy. You make a bracha over something, you make it holy. I'm going to bed because I want to sleep, to have energy to get up for shul, to learn. You're elevating your sleep into learning. I remember when we were in yeshiva, they used to say, when is the biggest amount of time you learn non-stop? When you sleep. You sleep for 8 hours. You have in mind, I'm going to sleep because I want to get up for shul and to learn. So that 8 hours is uninterrupted learning. When you get up and you're awake, you're schmoozing to your friends in the middle of learning, and then you take a phone call and this and that. But while you're sleeping for the mitzvah is when you're having the huge block of learning. So that's what they used to say. So that's the idea of challah. And the same is with Bikkurim. The first fruits, Hashem is saying, before you eat and enjoy your fruits, before you take it, do a mitzvah. Bring it to me in the temple, give it to the Kohen. They wave, they make a whole thank you procession. If you look in the Talmud and in the Mishnah, they used to have everybody come out. It was a whole parade. They used to blow horns. They used to clap for all the farmers coming with their baskets of fruit. It was a wonderful procession. And that was to show you can enjoy your fruits, enjoy your work, make it holy. This little bit here, you spent weeks and months planting and harvesting and all the stuff that went into it for months. And you think, well, what holiness is in all that work where I got dirt on my fingers, I'm covered in dirt and sweat for months while I was plowing and planting. God says, no, take the first thing that grows. You do a mitzvah that's so special to me. You've elevated everything into spirituality. So when Jeroboam stopped it, he didn't allow them to take it. He was basically saying to them, I'm cutting you off from God. I'm cutting off that source of spirituality. I'm cutting off the fact that you're taking the mundane, simple, basic food and all the hard work that you've done, I'm cutting it off from you, and therefore there's no more spirituality. So that's why I believe, in my opinion, they chose that day as such a sad day, because it cuts the Jews and all the farmers and the workers away from their spirituality. He took away that ability to do a mitzvah with the food, with their hard work, and that's why I think he took it into, they made it a fast day. So that's why it's a sad day, it's a fast day. I want to leave that there. We get into the happiness. So let me share my screen again. Okay, let me get the right one. Here we go. Esther chapter 8, share. So we should all be seeing now Esther chapter 8. So we know the story. The story was with Haman, obviously wanted to kill the Jews. He sent out letters that all the Jews on the 13th of Nisan will be killed. We all know the story. Esther went begging Achashverosh. They had these two feasts, and then Haman was eventually killed. He was killed on the second day of Pesach, right? If you watch the Megillah early, he sent it on the 10th of Nisan. You add up all the days, comes to the second day of Pesach. Then he was killed, but still, the decree, Achashverosh said, I'm very sorry, the decree is still in force. So, as we know, they had to make a new decree. So let's have a look here at the top of the page. Vayoma HaMelech, let's read it in English. The king Achashverosh said to Queen Esther and Mordechai the Jew, I have given Haman's property to Esther, and he has been impaled on the stake for scheming against the Jews. Right, here we go. And you may further write with regard to the Jews as you see fit. Write it in the king's name, this will become important soon, and seal it with the king's signet. For an edict that has been written in the king's name and sealed with the king's signet may not be revoked. So, okay, when was this? Here's the main bit. Let me try and highlight it so we see. Here we go. Hopefully it's being highlighted on your screen too. So the king's scribe was summoned at the time. When? On the 23rd day of the 3rd month. That is the month of Sivan. So today is the day that the king's scribes, Achashverosh's scribes, were summoned, and letters were written at Mordechai's dictation to the Jews and to the satraps. I don't know who they are, who they are, but anyway, in the Hebrew it's the Achashdarbanim, okay? Somebody maybe can tell me what satraps are. The governors and the officials of the 127 provinces from India to Ethiopia, to every province in its own script, and to every people in its own language, and to the Jews. So today was the day they wrote it. What happened? He had them written, sealed, to the effect, here, let's highlight this, the king permitted the Jews of every city to assemble and fight for their lives if any people of any province attacks them. They may destroy, massacre, and exterminate its armed force together with women and children and plunder their possessions. So today was the day, and it says, we all used to cheer. That's the last time we were really in shul together, Purim, right? We all cheered every time we said das. So we can all cheer again. Whoa, we said das in the Megillah. They said das in my shir. So they all went out. Here we go. Let's highlight this. The couriers mounted on royal steeds went out in urgent haste. Mordechai left the king's prayer in royal robes with a magnificent crown. The Jews enjoyed light, gladness, happiness, and honor. And it was here we go. And that day, which is the 23rd, when the kingdom there was gladness, joy amongst the Jews, a feast, and a holiday. So they say that it is likely that all this happened on the same day, because it says they went out quickly, right? What did we just read before? It said they ran off quickly. What did it say? They were dispatched in haste. Where did it say haste? Letters were dispatched by Madina, bread of royal stir to this, right? They went out in haste. Yeah, they were. But it says, Yotsu the Chofim. Here we go. The couriers mounted, went out in urgent haste at the king's command. So they ran off quickly. They didn't spend days reviewing it. They wrote it, and they quickly ran off with it. So you see that today, and tomorrow, I suppose, the next couple of days, were days of great honor, a feast, here we go, a feast and a holiday. So the 23rd day of Sivan is the day that the Jews were allowed to defend themselves on Purim, or the day before Purim, the 13th of Adar. So even though we celebrate Purim on the 14th, which is when we won the victory, but today was the start of the victory. Because if they weren't allowed to defend themselves, they wouldn't have obviously been able to fight properly, and they would have been wiped out. So today is the beginning of the victory. We don't celebrate Purim till later. But you see, they made a feast and a holiday. So says The Mefarshim, that's why today is a very happy day, a very special day, a very auspicious day. Now, if you look at the history, we said it's a fast day. Why is it a fast day? Because King Jeroboam stopped the Bikkurim from coming up to Israel. Now, that was in the year, if I remember correctly, I think it was 796 before the Common Era, right? Because that was before the destruction of the temple. The Purim story was during the destruction, the Golus, which was 400 years later. And this happened some 450 years later. So the Purim story came after. So it was a sad day at the beginning, with Jeroboam stopping the first fruits from coming up to Yerushalayim. But it was now a happy day. So the happy day comes later. So now people say there's no fast day. For those who are saying, well, should we say Tachnun? There are some people who don't say Tachnun today. But the majority of people say, look, we're not going to fast because it's a happy day. But at least we should say Tachnun, right? At least we, don't, let me stop sharing. And then you can see my face again, whether you think that's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know. So I said that joke already last time. So therefore, we can see that even if it's a great day, we're still going to say Tachnun because of the bad things that happened with King Jeroboam. And the bad things that are happening over the next few days, where the 10 martyrs were killed, they were killed later in the destruction of the second temple with the Romans. So first you had Jeroboam, the sad, then you had the happiness at the time of King of Esther and Achashverosh, and then you had the sadness with the killing of the 10 martyrs. So today is the day that, as we see, is a happy day. And it says that people should wash, they should have bread, and have a feast. Because what did we say? I'll share the screen again. It said they made a feast. Share the screen again. It says they made here, I'll highlight it, joy among Jews, a feast and a holiday. Well, we don't need any excuse to have a feast. You know what we're like. We're Jews, we like to eat. So therefore, it's a feast. One should have a feast. I mean, it's a bit late because sunset is in 14 minutes. But you can say it was for a few days. So you can, the next few days, you can have a feast. But let me take this a step further. And this is why I said I was going to wait for Tehillim till afterwards, because maybe the Tehillim would have more of an effect. There is an opinion. You know, God's name is not mentioned in the Megillah. God's name is not mentioned at all in the Megillah. That's a story, a discussion we're not going into now. God's name is not mentioned anywhere in the Megillah in its own right. So they say that every time it uses the word Hamelech, the king, which obviously refers to King Achashverosh, really it's referring to the king in heaven, God. So therefore, every time the king says something, it's really like Hashem is saying something. Obviously, Hashem does good and does bad. I didn't mean it that way. He does good and bad. Everything that's bad and good comes from Hashem. So when it said, the king said, write whatever you want in my name, and I will sign whatever you say, that is like God is saying, I will let you, the Jews, write whatever you want, and I will agree with it. So as you know, every day in the Jewish calendar has the energy of that special occasion. So obviously Pesach, 15th of Nisan, the energy of redemption runs through that day. We celebrate it every year. And there's this idea of redemption, personal redemption, spiritual redemption. Shavuos has the energy of the Torah, the giving of the Torah, connecting to the Torah. And every day you have that energy of whatever happened from the beginning. Rosh Hashanah, we have that energy, the connection to Hashem. So the same as with this day. This day, the 23rd of SIVAN, has a connection, has that energy to where God said, write whatever you want, and I will sign it. What did it say? Katov beinecha. Let's look at it again. Let's look at it again. I'm getting carried away with sharing and unsharing here now that I know what I'm doing. Okay. No, I've gone far too far. Here we go. See? You may write with God. Write in the king's name and seal it with the king's signet. So what it's saying is today is a day that if you ask God for things, if you ask God to do something, God will do it. Okay, there's always limits. Don't say that everything you ask for is going to is going to be given, because obviously we know that's not always how it happens. God sometimes said no, or God said that's not right, or maybe at a later time. But that's what they say, that today we can ask God, Katov be'einechem. You can ask God for whatever you want. We know on Purim, they also say you can ask God for whatever you want. There's an expression called Aposhet Yod No, say no. Whoever stretches out their hand for money, for help on Purim, you give him. You don't ask any questions. What are you going to do with the money? Well, I suppose if you know they're going to use it for dangerous things, like drugs and things, maybe it's different. But it says also by God, if you stretch out your hand to God, he will answer you whatever you want on Purim. And the same is today, that if you ask God for stuff, you pray to God, you connect yourself to the energy that God has the ability to answer you, the ability to give you whatever you wish, the ability to connect to that energy, then God will sign it for you. So today is a special day for prayer. And that's why I wanted to wait before saying the Tehillim, because now that we know that the Tehillim, whatever we say, will be granted, we can have extra feeling, not just for ourselves, not just for the people that we're going to say Tehillim for, who are ill, who are sick, but we can have in mind all things that we want for ourselves. First of all, that coronavirus should evaporate, right? It should go away, and we'll be able to go back to the semblance of connection that we used to have before. Obviously, we don't want to go back to the way it was exactly before. We want to make it better than it was before. We want to have better connection to Hashem. We want to make sure our shuls and our holy places stay holy, and we don't talk when we're not supposed to talk during davening, or say words of Lashon Hara. Like we had the end of last week's parasha, Miriam was punished for Lashon Hara, and that is something that we need to constantly remind ourselves and work on every second of the day. And therefore we have in mind that Hashem should bring us back to our shul, to our davening, to our tefillos, that we can, they call it social distancing, but really I suppose it should be anti-social distancing, because the idea is you're being anti-social, right? You're staying away from people. But really I think it should be called anti-social distancing. But hopefully we should have in mind when we say the Tehillim that God should bring us back to our former state of connection with people, where we can mix, we can hug and kiss those that we're allowed to hug and kiss, and so on. We'll leave that as that. And anything else anybody has in mind that they want to daven for while it's still daylight, we'll have in mind. So I think you can all see the Tehillim on my screen. Mimamakim refers to the depths of your heart, where you say to God, all I have from you is the depths of my heart, I want to call out from you. And some opinions say it's talking about the depths of Golos, the depths of exile. You say to God, I'm calling you from the depths of exile. Now with the coronavirus, we are in the depths, right? We are in the depths, we are deep in trouble, in difficulties, and we definitely can say to Hashem, we call out from the depths. So as we are all muted, we might as well say it all together. It's on your screen. I've got it in Hebrew. You can listen to me. We have in mind Refuah Shalema for Rivka, Rachel Martel Bas Rivka Freya, and for a couple of other Chodim whose names just gone out of my head. One is Shul Ben Sarah, and one is Zalman Ben, I've forgotten, but have in mind these people, and anyone else who was on the Chodim list, and Rachel Bas Yehudis Bas Mikolea, and all our personal issues. So let's say this together. Shira Malais Mimamakim Karasi Adonai Adonai Shema Bekali Yana Aznecha Kashuva V'V'Isneka Adonai Imavayna V'Isnishmad Ya Adonai Bi Yamhoi Ki Yimafasalicha Lema Antivorei Kivisi Adonai Kivisa Nafshi Belin Morai Ay Chawaki Nahashil Adonai Bishai Meri Kapatiker Shai Meri Yachel Yisrael El Adonai, Gim Adonai Chesed, Rabbi Yimai Bedor, Oyevnes Yisrael, Kol Avodah Yisrael. And now we'll say one more. Hopefully this will work, and I'll be able to get to Psalm 142. Kofmem base, that should be right over there. Ooh, there we go. This one also is a very special prayer that people have at the time of difficulties, and we have in mind that God shall listen for whatever we want, and then I'll give a minute or two for people to internalize what they want to ask God for and what they feel they want to say, whatever language they want. People are muted, so nobody else will hear you, and we can have in mind all the things that we need to happen. What's also interesting about this, I should stop, is that when he was in the cave, it says when David was in the cave and he saw King Shaul, he was scared and he said this prayer. He cut King Shaul's coat to show Saul later, look, I cut your coat, I could have killed you. And that's the first time God said, you cut his coat, I'm going to tear the kingdom away from you. And that's when the first idea of splitting the kingdom between the 10 tribes and the 2 tribes came about. So actually it talks about that idea, which is obviously what we started our share with Jeroboam ben Nevat. So we've come round full circle, I suppose. So we'll start again. Maskele David bi Yosef Amaro Sefila Kaili El Adonai Ezak Kaili El Adonai Eschanan Espoich Levanav Sichi Sarasi Levanav Agid Bisate Folai Ruchi Bata Yodat Nasivasi Balaso Halei Chodom Ufachni Habeit Yominurei Veili Makiravad Manais Mimeni Ein Zeirei Eishel Nafshi Zakti Elech Adonai Yomareti Ato Machsi Chelki Beretz HaChayim Akshiva Avinasi Gidalei Simiyot Atileni Mirei Defaki Yomitzu Mimeni Oitzia Mimaske Nafshi Loides Eshemecha V'yachtir Tzadikim Gizikva Iloloi B'Shubachaptim Avraham Yitzchak Yaakov Moshe Shalmei Rabbi Zechel Madubas Rivke Brochel Madubas Rivke Freidel yes Zalman yes Shalom Zarababu I'll let people have a minute. Maybe if I can put this in English, we can do this in English. Let's see if this works. Is that, no, that's font size, sorry, language. Okay, so I've left it up in English. If people want to read it in English while we have in mind things that we want to ask God for, give everybody a minute. Okay, so that is the prayer. Let me unstop the share. So that is what the special significance of today and the sad things that happen over the next few days that we said 4 out of the 10 martyrs that were killed, the 10 martyrs that we know about, they happened over the next few days as well. So it's always important to be aware of Jewish history, to be aware of what these days represent, and have in mind, obviously, when it's, even if it's a fast day that we don't keep as a fast day, we should bear in mind that it's still something that happened in history that we should be aware of. So let me unmute everybody. Okay, we should all be unmuted, those who want to be unmuted, that is. And we can say hello because a lot of people joined. I know some people had a problem signing in. So I don't know if other people had that, but I see people have signed on here that weren't at the beginning of the share. Katie and Mike Adler, hello, how are you? You're good? Still muted. And we have Arthur and Marsha, and who else do we have? We have David, we said hello, David Sturman, and to Mary, and to Milton Shirley, how are you? We will be having our next class, I believe, Wednesday. What time is it? 6:30, I believe, right? For Mincha, followed by a short 15-minute explanation of the second Mishnah in Pirkei Avos. So maybe I'll try and get it on the screen so we can share the screen if people want to follow it, or if you get a Siddur. We started last week at Chapter 1, Mishnah 1. On Wednesday now we will be going on to Mishnah 2. The links are on the shul website, I believe. Somebody said they're on the website. I had a quick look. I didn't check them to see they work. David, are you unmuted?
Probably.
David, Lazar, you can hear me?
David, he's talking to you on the screen.
I said, do the links on the shul website get you straight onto the Zoom minion where we're doing?
Hi.
We lost our
I said, do the links on the shul website you put the links on, are they real links that work to get you to the shiur and the
I've got to do a little work to get the shiur on. If the link doesn't change from week to week, I'll get it on. It was not on today.
Right, so hopefully in future the links will be on the website. I believe davening is on the website. I had a look, right?
Excuse me?
The davening for Wednesday night is on
the davening from Wednesday night is on the website, and for Friday night is on the website, and for Sunday.
Right, so if people, the easiest thing to do is go on delrayorthodox.org and click on the links to our minyanim. So that's the easiest way to get on. The links are going to be there, and hopefully next week my share link will be on too, and that's the easiest way to do it. Thank you, David, for all the work that you've done with Zoom and setting everything up and doing everything. We're greatly appreciative of that.
Okay, I'm sorry, because of my traveling last week, I didn't get that up, but it'll be there.
And I should also say to the women, I mean, there's an email going out from Sisterhood. I see we have a few women here, that on Tuesday and Thursday, I set it up, David, you could check the link I sent. Tuesday, Thursday at 11 o'clock, we'll be having a short Tehillim for women. There's a lot of power in women's prayers. There's many women Tehillim's group that they set up. So we're having a 10-minute Tehillim group because there's a lot of people in our shul who are ill. We'll be saying Tehillim every time we meet for a davening, but there's a special women's Tehillim. The Women's Sisterhood members will be joining together on Tuesday and Thursdays at 11 a.m. for a 5-10 minute Tehillim recital. So look out for the links to that. If anybody wants to say anything, I think everybody is unmuted. Say hello. Hello, Sheila and Mendy. Are you back up north now?
Mendy, you're muted. You're muted.
Mandy, I think you're muted.
My wife tells me I'm always unmuted. I'm always muted.
Should be.
We're in North Carolina in a Hamptons Inn.
All right. Okay. So enjoy and have a safe rest of your trip.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Have a good evening, everybody.
Thank you. Mike, how's Katie?
Bye. You should leave.
Hi, Mike. Bye.
Okay. All right. Have a good evening, everybody.
Thank you.
Those of you who
You're doing a great job, Rabbi. Keep it up. You're doing a good job.
I appreciate that. Thank you for the feedback. Those of you who are planning to come to our minyanim next week, you need to sign up. Apparently, we only have 4 people signed up already. I know a lot of people have told me they're planning to come, but only 4 people, and one of them is me, have actually done the application. It's very simple. You send an email to info@delrayorthodox.org saying you're planning to come and sign the waiver. So if we can get that done as soon as possible, so we can, we know that's going to happen from, did it put a time in the email? Did they have a time for Mincha and Mariv? I can't remember.
6:45.
It said 6:45. Okay, so 6:45 it is. I couldn't remember if there was a time there. So even if you sign up, it doesn't mean you have to come. So I advise you sign up, and then you can decide whether you want to come or not. So have a good evening, everybody, and enjoy your night.
Thank you.
Right on.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Milton.